G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to another video, and here we go with some daily race C action from this particular week. Probably be 1 or 2 weeks ago by the time you're watching this, but we're going out for a bit of an interesting little combination here actually. We're in Group 4, and I've gone for the Jaguar F-Type for this race, and we're at Kyoto Driving Park, Yamagiwa plus Miyabi in reverse. So the full circuit in the clockwise direction is what we're going for here, which, you know, the name is pretty descriptive of what this track really is. It is literally the Yamagiwa circuit plus the Miyabi circuit. It's got two little joins in it. But the other interesting point is actually the strategy for this race. This race has a forced mandatory pit stop, something we've never really seen too much before. However, there's no actual tyre requirement, so you can go through the pits, but you don't actually have to change your tyres. And for my first race here, I was kind of thinking all week, can I pit in before the race actually starts? So we're going to do this little bit of important research here for you. I'm going to do it at my own expense. I'm going to dive into the pits sort of right at the start of the race because I happen to start behind the pit lane entry. And I pretty much immediately knew I don't think this is actually going to count as my mandatory stop because I just rolled straight through the pit lane in auto drive. It didn't actually trigger the pit lane start sequence. It didn't actually trigger the pit animation, which still happens even if you choose not to change tyres. So we've gone through the pit lane there, and that's going to be the only time we have anything to do with the pit lane for this entire race. So essentially, we're going to flash all the way towards the end of the race. Or actually, this is actually the end of lap 7, because I think we've got a little bit of pressure from Atom behind, who's on his second account, not the Atom, but it is the Atom, I can confirm. And we're going to have a little bit of a race on this last lap. So he's gone in for the mandatory stop at this point, obviously. He's also driving the Toyota 86. He's got plenty of experience in that car. I don't really have too much experience with his F-Type, so I don't think I'm driving it properly. However, the F-Type, I will say, very understeery, I found. Like, it's hard to set it into the corner. Like, I'm trying to turn in on the brake, and it's just not going into the apex, and Atom is right behind me at this stage. That Toyota 86, we know, is not the best in a straight line. So down this flat-out section in towards the first of the very awkward junctions between the Miyabi and the Yamagiwa circuit. So you can see it's got a really difficult entry, and then you sort of go up a bump, uphill, really off camber and understeer, and we almost end up in the barrier that blocks off the Miyabi pit lane. But we managed to stay ahead of Atom at this point, but he's going to get a lot of ground closed up to this Jaguar through this long right-hander of turn 8, about halfway through the Miyabi circuit. I mean, look at that, he's right sort of on my inside there. He even made some contact. He was about 4/10 back on the start of that corner, so I'm going to have to be really careful. That Toyota 86 is just an absolute little rocket through the corners, and I mean, I think we just cast aspersions on the 86 and go, it's a crap car because it's crap in a line. It's really good through the corners, and we're seeing Atom display that absolutely beautifully. This is the second of the junctions between the Miyabi and the Yamagiwa circuit. Pretty much the opposite, off camber but downhill, as we drop back down into the valley at the bottom of the Yamagiwa circuit. But we've had the slipstream of Atom now. This Jaguar's a little bit better in a straight line compared to that Toyota 86. I'm going to be right on his trumpet heading through here. We actually get an okay line through there. We are able to commit to the power. We don't understeer off the circuit. We don't sort of get unsettled on the curbs because I got the pressure of an Alfa Romeo 4C behind, which is pretty similar to the 86 actually. Good through the corners, not so great on the straight. We get the downhill S's okay, not too bad, just the final corner now, so we do have to be quite careful here. I've washed wide, I've just sort of committed to the corner a little bit too aggressively and a little bit too late, but thankfully I think the 4C behind has actually made a large error because that gap has opened up to over 4 seconds, so we will bring this home in 6th, but most importantly, we'll see if I don't get a 1 minute penalty. I do get a 1 minute penalty, so there you go. Pitting before the race starts does not count as your mandatory stop. I can confirm that, so I really need to choose a lap to be my in-lap after the race starts. So the earliest I can pit is at the end of lap 1 rather than the start. So we are ultimately, we'll see if we sort of get pipped for 17th position by Nismo 86 OZ, who ironically is driving the Evo. I think we did. I didn't actually leave it in the video. I think I did get overtaken and I finished in 18th there. we're going to move on to the next race. I know that we can't do that weird little strategy this time, so I'm going to drive past the pit entry. Now we won't make that mistake twice. And, well, this race, you've probably seen the title, you've probably seen the thumbnail. Yeah, this one's a bit crazy, but we'll see how we get into sort of the battle that we end up being in. We're going from the back of the field. We haven't set a qualifying time. I haven't really done too much practice, in fact. I did these races on a Saturday afternoon after work, and that was the first time I touched it for the entire week. I wanted to give it a good go, mainly for the content, but but also because I think this track would be very satisfying to get right. Unfortunately for me, I don't think I really got the track that well down pat at all. I think I was well over a second off the pace per lap. But I'm sure with plenty more practice I could have got there, and I was also very limited by my car choice, because on the second account I have hardly any credits, hardly any cars. I think I had a choice of about 4 different cars, and that was including the ones I purchased to sort of, like this Lamborghini. I think I purchased the Scirocco and the BMW M4, and I had a Subaru as well, and the Jaguar and the Lancer, so I think that's about 6 cars actually. But still, I was quite limited. I didn't have the likes of the Porsche that Atom is driving in this particular race. I'm not in the Jaguar, I'm in this Lamborghini, and I think the Lamborghini was a little bit better at the start of the race than the Jaguar was, but we'll see if that advantage carries itself throughout the whole race. A couple of cars are very wide on the entry towards turn 11 there, and it sort of goes 2 by 2 through turn 11, and coming down into the second junction, I mean, we'll see all manner of hell breaks loose here. BMW dives in on the Subaru and barges him out of the way. Atom goes through as I run a little bit deep as well, so Atom and the BMW side by side up the hill, coming through turn 13, which is just over this crest, just shallow left-hander here, and we're coming into the very long turn 14. So hard to get the turn in right. Atom gets it quite well. I get barged wide by the BMW here, so I come back and touch that curb just to try and recover some sort of momentum for the straight. And I still have the slipstream off the back of the BMW, so it could be a lot worse. However, I have the very significant pressure of Okayamaru, who is in the Subaru behind. We don't get the downhill S's as well as we potentially could have, taken too much speed through the mid portion. But coming into the final turn, turn 19, the Subaru just comes in and just runs me out. What's that? That's just ridiculous. I did nothing to the Subaru the entire first lap. I had nothing to do with him. And, I mean, we go into the pits at the end of lap 1. We left it very late. Look how close to the pit entry wall we were. But we do go into the pits. But, yeah, what is that? That's ridiculous. So I've been run off the road. So I'm going to have to be seeking a little bit of revenge on that Subaru, I think, if we can catch up to him, I suppose. And, well, I was on party chat with Atom as well, so I kind of did send a bit of a distress signal up towards Atom to let him know the Subaru is an absolute... Well, I won't finish that sentence, will I? But we'll skip ahead to the end of lap 2. Nothing really happened. I pitted really early, so I came out in clear air, which is good. That is what I wanted to do. I want as much clear air as I possibly can. So we're going to jump someone in the pits. I think we've jumped Atom in the pits, so he's lost a load of time, actually. He's lost a load of time. So I think he's been stuck in a bit of a battle, and we've come out behind an Alfa Romeo 4C. We're in 18th position at this stage. However, hopefully we can just make quick work of any of these cars that form the traffic up ahead. Let's see if we can get past the Alfa Romeo, who defends to the inside for the upcoming hairpin at turn 4. And we completely actually get around the outside before the corner even becomes a problem. The Alfa Romeo is going to prove to be, well, I suppose you've seen the thumbnail. You know what the Alfa Romeo turns out to be, but we'll see just how much of a problem it does sort of make it for itself as this race goes on. So coming down into the first junction at turn 7, we go for the wide line in to try and get the straighter exit, but the Alfa Romeo just takes that as an invitation to send his car up the inside. He's on the wrong side heading into the upcoming turn 8. However, I have just about the power advantage to pull in ahead, so I can take a nice racing line through turn 8. Very long right-hander. Let's see, the Alfa Romeo gets a lot of ground on the exit, and he's kept 2 wheels on the curb for longer, I think, and it's helped pull his car around the corner, and I got a little bit of an overlap there. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that particular move just there. That was a clean attempt at trying to get past. Don't get the best change of direction halfway through Miyabi, and the Alfa Romeo just takes that as another invitation to send one up the inside. And he gets it kind of stopped on the corner, to be fair. It looks like he took a little bit of an early apex, but he just about gets it turned. about as late as he possibly could have to be considered an okay move. So he's back up into 17th at this stage. I was getting a little bit frustrated at this right present moment because I was looking at the positions further up the road and I was like, I can't really afford to be stuck in a battle with you because I pitted so early. I need to take advantage of the clear air as much as possible because other people ahead who are yet to pit can end up going faster around the circuit than me and extend out the gap to more than what the pit loss is, which means that I don't gain an advantage. And unfortunately, I get stuck behind the Alfa Romeo through all these downhill S's, so I lose a little bit of time there. It gets unstable on the curb, and I've got nowhere to go. And I've unfortunately given him a bump into the last sort of turn 17, turn 18 part of the downhill S as he comes for a little bit of a return serve at turn 19, and I had nowhere to go. He lost it on the curb, and it's such a narrow, single file, high speed part of the track. I really had nowhere else to go. So at the end of the day, I think it's kind of his fault for losing control as he dives it into turn 1, and I have to take evasive action there because it looks like he was going to just completely spear into the back of me and go for the ram. So at this stage, I was beginning to think, you're a little bit erratic, aren't you? You don't really know what you're doing as he runs it in hot to turn 2, up to turn 3. A little bit of contact halfway through, but that one was nothing major. I have the inside for turn 4. Let's see if we can run side by side. No, he turns into me instead, so we've made side to side contact on the apex. I was definitely up the inside there. There's absolutely no contesting that one at all. So the Alfa Romeo proving to be a massive thorn in my side at the moment, really causing me a load of issues as we take this wide line in again. The Alfa Romeo takes that as another invitation to send it up the inside with the load of contact as well. However, once again, we're turning into each other now. He's trying to turn right into me, and he almost gets me very unstable there. The back end just kicking out ever so slightly as the featherweight Alfa Romeo 4C tries to make an impact on the rear-engined Lamborghini Huracan, but he sends it up the inside at turn 8 again, and he manages to get that 16th position back. So I'm just absolutely hemorrhaging time behind him. There we go. I haven't used that little chestnut in a while, have I? Hemorrhaging time in this little battle with the Alfa Romeo. I resend one up the inside. I do run it in a little bit deep, to be fair, to the Alfa Romeo, and he takes the opportunity to do a nice little cut back. He runs it deep into the second of the junctions at turn 12, and I take that as an invitation to go up the inside. So at this stage now, we've kind of descended into a little bit of a battle that we're in which we're kind of just as bad as each other. Hashtag second account things. You wouldn't encounter this kind of racing really up in the lobbies where I would be if I was using my main account, because that has a much higher DR. But unfortunately, down the back of, I think this probably would be second split daily races at the back, are a little bit sort of more free for all, more sort of every man for himself kind of situation. So we've actually extended out a little bit of a gap to the Alfa Romeo through that particular rendition of the downhill S's. I felt as though if I could just get my line right through the downhill S's, I was actually quite strong through there. We're going to have a couple more people going to the pit lane. Yes, we are. So hopefully we can make a couple more positions up. We passed somebody there that we've never seen before in the race, so I think he's lost a load of time on his opening couple of laps. The Alfa Romeo sends it in out of nowhere. That was a dive and a half with a load of contact to finish it off. I was really getting quite frustrated with the Alfa Romeo, and I was saying out loud at the time, I'm using every inch of my willpower not to put him in a barrier. But imagine if I did that and made a video on it. Oh dear. I would not want to make a video on my own dirty driving as he turns into me again. He's just turned into me again at turn 4, just taking a wide line in and just slamming into the side of me. No good at all. And we're up into 13th at this stage, and we're still interlocked with a battle, interlocked in a battle with this Alfa Romeo, and we'll see if it continues on as we go through turn 7. He sends it up the inside a little bit. That was a little bit of a better attempt there, to be fair to him. The Alfa Romeo not diving it in as deep as possible and using contact to get the car stopped. He actually got it stopped on the apex, so that one there was actually okay. Not too bad of an attempt on the Alfa Romeo's behalf. We're going to fast forward quite a bit because the the battle finally fizzled out with the Alfa Romeo, so we're just kind of getting ever closer to this pack of trio. The trio up ahead. I think I tried to say about 3 different statements there to describe this pack of 3 cars up ahead, and I got all tongue-tied and tongue-twisted as we end up getting a penalty, thinking too much about the trio up ahead, trying to get the best of a line as possible. And the the Renault Megane Trophy gets a poor exit from the final turn, and I end up running into the back of him, who also has picked himself up a half-second penalty. Defense to the inside here. I think there was a bit of contact there, but I fast-forwarded through it. As we're coming into turn 7 once again, let's see if we get another dive from the Alfa Romeo behind. As we just tip it in, there's a little bit of contact there, but it was more to the rear of my car rather than the side, so I was able to just about hold this position. I end up serving the penalty. It probably would have been much more beneficial for the Alfa Romeo to hang right behind me as he sort of barges me out of the way as we head through turn 8 again. And yeah, he's definitely sort of playing it quite rough with me at the moment. Sends it up the inside there. I mean, he got the position after I served the penalty, so maybe that one was kind of fair enough as well. And we're going to head up into the end of the Miyabi circuit again. Are we going to send it up the inside of the Alfa Romeo? We actually do this time, and I think this time my frustration got the better of me, and so I kind of give him a taste of his own medicine. Just sending him a little bit wide. That's quite naughty of me, isn't it, to try and retaliate? But I was very frustrated at this stage. The Alfa Romeo just going for the send. Just not taking a measured approach at all. Just trying to be ahead of me. But it doesn't really quite work like that, especially because I'm faster, and you know, I think I was catching up a load of time to him before I actually got interlocked with the battle. I would have had to catch up to him, wouldn't I? So yeah, you know, it just doesn't make sense to me. If someone is caught up a matter of seconds within laps, I'm probably just going to let them go, because it's going to be literally quicker for me. My total time of the race will be quicker if I just let a faster car go. There's no point getting stuck in a battle for a position against a driver that I'm not going to be able to beat. And you can see at this point, we finally got out of the range of the Alfa Romeo, and in fact there's now a car between us. Atom is now caught back up to the back of us because of all our battling. Remember, he was about 4 seconds off the back of us when the pit stops took place, and he's now caught all that ground back up. And now that we've got the car in between me and the Alfa Romeo, I can kind of focus more up ahead now, because I know Atom is going to race sensibly here as the yellow flag has come out as we round out the top of turn 7. Is there somebody slow down the straight here? There is. It's another Lamborghini, I think. He's had a little bit of an issue coming out onto the Miyabi circuit. I think the most common issue that happens there is you run it too wide and hit the pit entry wall that's blocked off the Miyabi pit lane. But we managed to get up the inside of the Lamborghini. I think we're the last of the cars to get through with no time loss. And as we tip it into the S's now, we're catching up to the back of the... Oh, no, never mind. I was about to say we're catching up to the back of the Renault Megane, but instead I got the change of direction. Oh dear, there's been an incident behind. The Lamborghini has lost it. Not quite sure what happened there behind me, but I guess we don't have to worry too much about that Lamborghini anymore. I had dirty tyres as well, so I've sent it wide at turn 12. So that means now I've got very close attention of the Alfa Romeo again and Atom behind. So I have to be very careful on upcoming towards the final lap to make sure that I don't get swamped for 2 positions, as the Alfa Romeo characteristically just absolutely sends it up the inside. Atom gets up the inside too, to be fair. So it's at this stage where I'm beginning to suffer in the Lamborghini a little bit. Quite an understeery car I've discovered. It's okay at the start of the race, but as we get closer to the end of the race, as I just get completely too unstable on the curbs there, will I get a penalty for that one? I'm not quite sure if I ended up cutting that final turn 18 of the circuit. There's a little bit of contact between Atom and the Alfa up ahead, so it brings me back into the battle. Instead of trying to go up the side of the Alfa Romeo, I don't quite get there soon enough, and I end up bumping into the back of him instead, giving him a load of speed down the straight. So we're onto the final lap now, my last opportunity to get past this Alfa Romeo cleanly and sensibly, to try and just essentially show him what for, and just to prove that I can actually race clean against him, because there's nothing more dissatisfying than when you get pushed around and bullied like this and you still end up losing to them, because it kind of just, it sort of just consolidates for them that, oh yeah, this whole ramming thing, or not really ramming. I wouldn't say the Alfa Romeo driver is a rammer, but he's just a very erratic, a very aggressive driver, and it definitely sort of puts him more on the dislikable side of Gran Turismo Sport drivers. And I can tell you, at this particular present stage in which I was doing the race, I definitely did dislike this Yoru ZXV guy. But yes, we want to be able to show him that being sort of aggressive and not taking a measured approach is not the right way to go about your racing, because it isn't. You definitely want to take a nice measured approach and calmly go for moves here. However, I think, yeah, we're just going to escort him a little bit wide there. And Atom takes advantage and heads up the inside as well, so that's worked out about the best I could have imagined. So they're going to run side by side into this little chicane at turn 9 and turn 10, so that should relieve some pressure. Oh no, I've done the same mistake again, and the Alfa Romeo sends it up the inside. That's completely fine in my books there. Oh my goodness, the Subaru's come back. Remember the Subaru from the start of the race that escorted us wide? He's come back. Oh, he's ramming into the Alfa Romeo driver. It's a dirty driver, civil war. So now I'm behind Atom, who's behind the Alfa Romeo, who's now behind the Subaru, who's made up 3 positions in sort of 3 or 4 corners. So the Subaru's actually come off very well. However, both that Subaru and the Alfa Romeo aren't the best quality of drivers, dare I say. It might be a bit of an aspersion cast there, but I think it's probably safe to say that probably is the case. So now I'm really far off the back of them. I'm barely in the slipstream of even Atom at this point, but I think the best thing I can hope for now is that the 2 rammers, or the 2 aggressive drivers, I shall allegedly amend myself in saying, sort of take each other out and potentially give me and Atom another couple of positions there. However, the Subaru defends into the final turn. Atom gets the cut back on the way out, and the Subaru gets a poor exit. I'm going to have the slipstream of the Subaru, but I think the line is going to come up soon enough, so I pull out of the slipstream, and there's the finish line. It's unfortunately going to be 15th. What a disaster of a race, hey? And that's not normally how that race goes. I did a couple of, I did a good hand. I think I did 3 or 4 of these races. 2 of them I'm going to show you in sort of the coming videos. So one of them now, and there's going to be another one in a couple of days' time. I did some more as well, and I was able to sort of get up into, I think, the best position from starting at the back. I started at the back, and the best position I finished a race in was like 4th from starting at the back, and that was like no fighting. I was in a good car sort of thing. I'm going to show you the lobby after, because it kind of kicked off. I don't think I was the only one that was having issues. Just Dio was having issues with Atom as well, and Atom doesn't even know what happened. And yeah, he's essentially just another driver, F you too. He's essentially, I think he must have been punted by Atom, but as soon as he calls Atom a bleep head, I go and save that replay. That's for the T a bit later that I will show you in a second. And I think Atom just says there was lag. I mean, we'll see in the replay. And Just Dio's having none of it, is he? He's just like, nah, screw you, mate. You're an idiot to Atom, which he's not. And then I do decide to sort of poke the bear a little bit. No contact on my screen, even though I didn't even see what happened. Generally, if Atom says there's lag, there's probably lag, because Atom's not a dirty driver. So I'm kind of just poking the bear. And yeah, I think at some stage there must have been a lag punt, because Just Dio saying you punt me for no reason. I mean, Atom's not going to go and punt you for no reason. If you give him a reason to sort of race aggressive. Oh! Ouch! That little bit of... Oh! Coming in with the death blow. Coming in with the death blow there. But anyway, as I was saying before, Atom will race cleanly with you all the time, unless you give him a good, solid... It's got to be solid, and he knows that. It's got to be like a good, proper reason to sort of race a little bit more aggressively and just sort of tactically put you off a little bit. He'll return the serve, and I will too. If I'm given good enough reason to, the return will be served. And I think, he's actually done. He's actually given this Subaru some just dessert, so he actually has gone ahead and sort of responded to my distress signal that I sent up the field. Yeah, he's just completely... That's about as blatant as it gets. Wasn't even subtle with that one. And then, he baits him in. Baits him in here, and he ends up diving in and punting the BMW instead. Oh, man. I was trying to try and say his name smoothly. Okiyamaru, get your clown makeup off, mate. Oh, Atom. That's filthy, mate. Hashtag R4M there. but that was the end of the Subaru escapades as Atom goes in for his pit stop. Oh, here's Just Dio, so we'll see what ended up happening between the two. So Just Dio was ahead actually, and he lost a lot of ground in the pit stop phase, so he's lost a lot of time in his opening couple of laps there. He's come out ahead of Atom, just ahead of Atom, as we're coming into the final turn of the outlap now. He sends it down the inside, and there's some weird contact there. We're going to have to take a closer look at this, because I think there was definitely lag. I mean, yeah, Atom was not lying, and we'll see. Oh, this will be an okay view. Or actually, the point where the contact would have been is kind of obscured by the black bar. So we'll have to take a different approach angle to have a look at this. But yeah, they're heading down the downhill S's. Just Dio's quite obviously made a complete hash of them. So Atom's like, no, I'm gonna sort of get past you as quick as I can as to not lose time. He sort of dived down the inside. I think the Porsche here is a much better car in the corners than the Subaru oh my goodness, I've just gone to say Subaru Lancer. That's an absolute crime. And the Mitsubishi Lancer, and that particular view was probably the best one so far. I think there was definitely a very significant visual gap between the cars at the point at which the alleged contact took place. We're going to take a slower look there. I mean, that's sort of the closest the cars ever get. Atom is well up the inside now. He's still there, and then the car jolts out of the way. So I think, yeah, there's definitely lag in there. And we'll take a closer look again. I think we'll go into walk mode on this particular occasion. I mean, we're going to stop it there. That's about as close as the two cars get to touching. And we'll have a look. Yeah, I mean, it's so close. This is walk mode now. And, I mean, would have there been contact? Maybe. But I think Just Dio's also out of region. I think he's actually an EMEA player who's made an Oceania account. So that's going to create a lot of sort of network lag, because literally all his information has to travel literally physically a further distance to be sort of picked up and registered and processed. So his lance is probably not quite where we can see he is. He might be a little bit further up the road than what we can really see, but then he's just getting bullied again by this other Subaru now. So I think Just Dio's been bullied a little bit here. I don't know if he's an actual... I don't think he's a rammer himself. I think he's a hothead, and he's just kind of let his frustrations get the better of him here, because he was definitely casting insults in chat and swearing in chat, which is kind of not really on, to be honest. We are just a video game. I don't think Just Dio's kind of considering the fact that his, being in EMEA instead of actually being in the Oceania servers has caused him the problem here, because he's the one with a lot of network latency here. Unfortunately for Dio, it's put him it's made him be victim of a crash, a lag punt as we like to call it. I mean, we've seen it happen. We saw it happen in the Nations Cup Round 3 at Willow Springs that was broadcast on Gran Turismo TV. Akagi and... was it Yamanaka? Akagi and Yamanaka in the Audi R8s at Willow Springs. One of them went off the track, and it looked like a complete lag punt, because the cars were nowhere near each other when it looked like the contact took place. So it's definitely a thing. You do have to take it into account, especially when racing online. And if you're going to come from out of region into a different region, so if you're going to choose to race in Oceania instead of where you actually are in EMEA, you're going to have your network connection's not going to be as quick as everyone else in Oceania, because of the larger distance that all the information has to cover. It's kind of his own problem there, really. And if he doesn't really like the lag punts, essentially just stay in your own region. That's what the regions are there for. But anyway, that's going to finish up this video today. A lot of dirty driving, a bit of a dirty driving festival. I think that's the best way to describe pretty much everything we've seen in that video, except for the first part. That was very, very important research. You can actually expect my PhD thesis in a couple of months' time on that particular bit of research there. So yes, you can refer to me as Dr. Smokescreen. Doc Smock. Hey, that's a nice nickname, Doc Smock. maybe I can do something with that in the future. Anyway, I'm rambling and waffling on now, so do hit the like button if you enjoyed it, do subscribe if you'd like to see more videos from me. Do leave a comment as well, questions, comments and constructive criticism as always, very much appreciated. But that's going to be the end of this one today, and that means that is it for me. So once again, I do thank you very much for watching. See you later.